So today I want to talk about this question that I got that is really important, and that's if you're feeling like you're completely overwhelmed and you can't follow up, you feel like your guitar playing like completely sucks, everybody's playing better than you, and you're feeling kind of frustrated, what should you do, right? And I'm talking especially about the frustration that arises in a setting that is maybe not so common to you, that is like a setting outside of your comfort zone, meaning like you're going on a jazz jam session and you're confronted maybe with a tune that you never played before, or you lose the form, or you just like generally feel very nervous, or you're at a jazz workshop, everybody seems to have their shit together but you, and you feel like really you completely suck, and you think you just talking from my own experience, you think you should go home and first of all just practice for the next 10 years or maybe 100 before you can even allow yourself to get back into that place. And I think it's a mix of shame, right? And also maybe wrong expectations. So I want to talk about how you can help yourself stay in this situation, because the answer obviously is not to quit. I mean not quit guitar playing, that's for sure, but also not quit those uncomfortable situations, because that's what I learned over many years or even decades. You can't learn the stuff that freaks you out in this situation at home, because what happens is you play, but all of a sudden you're in another room with people watching you, and sort of the temperature rises, and there are many things that like beginning guitarists just don't know about. For example, it really sounds silly, but hear me out. Every room sounds different. For a start, every room sounds different. Every amp in this room, even your own amp, is going to sound different. And this is just like a small thing maybe, but it can throw you off big time, right? Because first of all, that's already one thing that's different. You're sounding different. You're maybe used to your sound in a specific corner with a specific amp of your room at home, and that gives you comfort. That's already out of the window. I know many guitar players who really make extensive sound checks before every concert, so that they get the sound that they want in the club that they're playing, because it's always a different sound. But of course, when the people come into the room that has been empty before, the sound's also different, right? So this is just something to realize, that that's already different, right? And then all of a sudden you also have this comparison game, maybe to other people going on, that they sound better or they look confident on the outside. Maybe they aren't even confident, right? People are different, and there are many ways how that can display, right? So the answer is obviously to stay in this situation, even if it feels terrible to you, because I have to tell you the truth, if you take a time off and practice on your own, coming back into the same situation, thinking you're going to be prepared better now, probably you're not. Even if you have all the stuff down that you wanted to have down, there's so much stuff going on all of a sudden. For example, also if you're playing, you have to listen to the other person's playing, right? So that you can connect. And that's something you have to train, right? It's like if you are having a conversation with somebody, it is a conversation. So you can go home and practice a conversation. I don't know, it sounds more like a monologue to me, right? And then you get back into this sort of a social situation again, and you want to have this exchange, and it still doesn't work, because you can only practice that in the moment itself. Still, I want to give you some more hand-on tips. So if you're playing a song and you're feeling like completely lost, there are 3 things that I would recommend. First of all, start with the accompaniment. If you can't play an accompaniment for many choruses, like 10, 20 choruses, on your own without losing the form, chances are you can't play a good solo over it either, right? So let's say you're like playing rhythm changes in B flat. You can just like start with easy chord shapes. Don't I feel like this doesn't make any sense because nobody wants to do this, but I still have to say it. Start with simple chords. The rhythm is much more important than some crazy chords. You want to keep it simple so you can focus on the rhythm, right? So you can play shell voicings. There's nothing wrong with it. And then you set your metronome maybe to 50. And then you just play those damn chords. Maybe like this. Really slow. Right? And then you see how that goes. And if you have a trouble in a certain way, maybe with a diminished chord, then you extract this little thing that makes you trouble. And I think this is most important, to try, if you're feeling bad about your own playing, not to try to feel like bad in every way, right? Everything's terrible and everything sucks. So, but look for the details. So that's all about knowing yourself. Going if you're in a situation like with other people, you have a confrontation with reality that you might not have in your living room, right? And that's one thing that you can do that is really very close to playing on a stage, but it's not the same. But it's if you record yourself, right? Because then already you get a very clear point of view of your playing. How do you sound? And I promise you, most cases, there will be stuff that you like and stuff that you don't like. But most often, it's not that everything is terrible, right? It's like a mirror. You're having a mirror when you're recording yourself. And then you can really have the chance to understand how to work on the details, right? So if something is not working for you, try to find what is not working. It's probably not everything. It's just maybe, let's say, write the E flat major going to the E diminished, right? And then if that's hard to play, you can also ask a teacher or anybody else for different solutions. There are many ways of playing stuff, right? So this is where you start with. You start with the comping, and next up you start with a solo. And that's most often a way how you can cheat your way through a tune, like with a pentatonic, right? But then of course you want to get more into the nitty-gritty, and I recommend just like really working on the stuff, on the material that you need to play a solo. So what's the material that you need to play a solo? Depending on your level, it can be the 5 positions of the pentatonic, it can be the major scale, it can be harmonic minor, but you, in my opinion, you absolutely need to know your pentatonic and your major scale for a start. And then you just, for heaven's sake, sit down, let's say B flat major, and play the scale. Let's have another tempo. Right. And then be honest, can you play this 10 times with a mistake? And check how much mental energy goes into playing this pattern. If you still have to think about the next note sometimes, right? That's a bad starting point for improvisation, right? Because the note's going to appear probably in another order than up and down. So you really want to get that automatic. So automatic is if you, for example, can play and talk while you play it. Because now I have some brain power left, not so much actually, to talk to you. And that's when the material is getting so deep inside of you that you can start listening. And you can't expect to really hear anything if you don't have that stuff down. it's sort of like riding a bike. First of all, you need to ride it somehow, and then when you can do that, you can talk to somebody else on a bike. But you first of all have to really put in the work, and I sometimes feel sorry that people are really delusional about their own abilities. So check that out. Can you play this position like 10 times up and down without a mistake? Can you play all the positions like this? Can you play some sequences? That would be the next step. Or maybe right, so like playing a pattern in one position and then the next step playing a pattern. Across. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I know many professional musicians, myself included, that have spent so many hours, uncounted hours, practicing this stuff, that they're really reluctant to talk about the amount of hours they spend practicing this because they feel like, or I feel like, it's ridiculous, and they still have trouble with some things at times, right? So it's like, oh man, if anybody knew how much I have been practicing, they would like laugh at me, right? So you needed so many hours to get that down. But yeah, it's a language, and you have to get it into your system, and it can't be on a surface level. So if you're frustrated, start there. Start with your practicing schedule and be really honest. How much do you practice? What do you practice? Do you practice the stuff that you want to get better at? And then really hone in on this thing of really practicing and playing the guitar. And watching a YouTube video is not practicing the guitar. Sorry. If you watch my YouTube video, that's of course different. That will make you a very good guitar player without practicing. Yeah, and last but not least, so yes, so basically, right, you practice your accompaniment, you practice your scale. I know that sounds all very boring, but that's reality for all the people that can really play. That's what they did, right? And last but not least, you can also play like a lick, right? So, right, and then just play a damn lick. For an hour maybe, right? And don't drive yourself crazy that you need to understand everything at first, right? I have been playing a lot of stuff in my life that I didn't understand, and it took me years, right? So just like, you know, play it, just play it, and then play it in a higher tempo, in another position on the fretboard. You know, it's really, the question is, I'm getting excited, is can you practice boring stuff? Can you sit down and just get the repetitions in? And if you can, and if you stick to it on a daily basis, you will have some, you know, progress. I'm sure about that. To sound condescending, but I want to say, when you start a new thing, right, in the beginning it looks like doable or easy, right? You can do it because you just don't understand what all the stuff that goes into it. And then when you continue working on your craft, you realize how much more there is to it. And sometimes there's a certain arrogance to assume, right, like you could play on a certain level in a certain time. But don't be fooled, right? All the great improvisers, John Coltrane or whoever, they spend their life practicing, and not for no reason, right? They really made such a deep connection to the instrument and the music that it was like a third arm. And you know, like the guitar is your third arm, if you know what I mean. And you have to understand that there's so much work that goes into it, but it's also so rewarding. But just like, don't think it's something you can click on, like on an app, and then you'll be a good guitar player. It takes a lot of work, but it is also so rewarding, because if you work on it, you're going to find sort of your own way of expressing yourself on the guitar. And that's what it always has been for me. It has been, especially if I feel down, it is like a therapy session for me. I go on a stage, on a jam session, I just have to play. And it seems I can only say certain things when I play. It's like another part of my personality. And I can never not have that part of my personality. So just don't give up. Always just continue, and understand that many people can feel super frustrated. And what really helps me, completely addicted to reading autobiographies or biographies. There's lots of good biographies. I'm listing them below, just to understand the struggles people have been going through to get to this level of success, right? And it's always a story behind every great musician. So go get your guitar, make a practice plan, be detailed, write down how long you're going to practice what and why are you practicing it, right? So you have to understand why you're working on something. And I leave you with this, and I'll see you next week. Bye.